Hey guys, Phillip Haumesser here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you 3 tips on how I take sports photos. Let's get started.
Let's make it happen now.
So in one of my last videos, I had somebody ask me if I could give some tips on shooting sports photos. Now, I don't take a whole lot of sports photos. I have done a football game and my kids play soccer, so I have a little bit of experience, but of course I also have about 7 years of photography experience, which I feel like I have some things I can say that would be helpful. So tip number 1, obviously if you have a telephoto lens, that's what you're gonna be wanting to use. Now, I don't, like I said, I don't shoot sports photos a whole lot. So my most telephoto lens that I have is my Nikkor 200mm f2.0 lens. Now this is an old 1977 vintage lens, so it's manual focus, and you don't want to be using a manual focus shooting sports photos because you have a lot of fast moving subjects, and it's going to be darn near impossible to keep your subject in focus. So my next telephoto lens would be my 135mm 1.8 art lens, my Sigma lens, and it's autofocus, but it's not very telephoto, at least not when it comes to sports photos. So you're probably going to need to do a little cropping if you're going to use a 135. So it helps to have a high megapixel sensor in your camera as well. I use with the sports photos I've taken, a 24 megapixel sensor. I now have a 33 megapixel sensor, so that would help a little bit. I don't think I've shot any sports with that camera yet, but the more megapixels you have, the better when it comes to cropping in. But preferably if you have like something that can go from like 200mm to like 600mm and it's a good fast autofocus, that would be great. Tip number 2, you're gonna wanna be on the opposite side of the field as the sun. If you're shooting in the evening and the sun's starting to go down, you wanna try to be in the opposite direction of the sun. So your subjects are gonna be backlit. It's just gonna make your subjects pop out a little bit more. They're gonna have the rim light going around their shoulders and whatnot. If you shoot in the same direction that the sun is going, your subjects are going to be overexposed, they're gonna have the sun in their face, things like that. You wanna try to watch out and avoid that as much as possible. If it's midday, it's not gonna matter so much, but if it's in the evening and the sun's going down, definitely try to be on the opposite side of the field as the sun. Tip number 3, and this one's pretty obvious, but you're gonna wanna shoot at a very fast shutter speed, several thousandths of a second if you can. You're also gonna wanna shoot with your aperture wide open, because if you're gonna be shooting very fast, you're gonna probably want as much light as possible, especially if you're shooting in the evening as the sun's going down and it's getting darker, or even late evening as it is completely dark and you just have the stadium lights. You're gonna need to really crank that ISO up. So shooting wide open with your aperture is going to help let a lot more light in, because you're also going to be shooting at several thousandths of shutter speed. So shooting wide open with your aperture and cranking the ISO up, it's gonna really help. And if you're cropping in, you don't have to worry so much about your subject not being in focus because of your aperture being wide open. It's not gonna be that much of an issue. Now, if you're shooting with a, like I said, 200 to 600mm and you're able to really get up closer, you might consider bringing that f-stop down a little bit so that you make sure you don't have motion blur in there and your subject's not out of focus. Of course, if you're shooting at several thousandths of a shutter speed, that shouldn't be an issue. That's all my tips for shooting sports photos. Of course, I guess the best tip of all, bonus tip, is get some experience. Go to some of your local games, get permission if you can be closer to the field, so you can be closer to the subjects without being in the way, obviously, and just get some experience. Experiment with the different settings, see what works for you and your camera and your lens, and after a few games, you'll have it nailed down. For more tips and tricks on photography, check out my free course at philiphaumesser.com/gift, or click the link below. It's a completely free course. I go through the basics on photography. I think you guys will really enjoy that. Go check it out. So, I hope you guys got a lot out of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe only if you want to. Hit that like button. It helps with the algorithm so more people can see these videos, so more people can become better photographers. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.